everybody, and welcome to the Mega Man tutorial. Today we will be talking about the mode select room and the stage select room. So let's get cracking. To get us started, let's see what we got over here on my side. We're going to need to make some objects here. So if you come over to our mode select room, you'll note that the background is already tiled with our background sprite. Just set the horizontal and vertical tile. Remember, room size is 256 by 240 if you are not using my pre-compiled version that I set up for everybody. And in this room, we are going to need a object. Again, this will just be a single object. Go over to room objects here. I'm going to create it, call it obj underscore mode select, because we're going to be very original with the name, right? Close all the additional objects. Let me pull up the code over here on my side. There we go. So this should be, again, fairly quick and easy because we're going to be, again, pretty much copying all the code from our previous objects that we have already set up. So we're going to need 3 events: create, step, and draw. Give ourselves a sprite, miscellaneous, I think, yeah. Sprite 9 slice. And this will be using a 9 slice script that you'll remember from the Chip and Dale tutorial. I'm not going to go over all the code here. Suffice to say, this is a standard 9 slice script. You can use your own if you prefer, or the one that is included. It just draws the sprite by parts and then draws it out to whatever size you give it in the arguments. Just remember to make sure your stuff can be divided by 3, your X and Y of the sprite. Alright, so let's go over to our create event here and let's make a zoom in. And this is basically, again, going to be copy paste. We give ourselves a width, a height, a top, and a left. These will be the position information for our 9 slice when we draw it. Options, start and password. Selection 0, draw caret, true, interval timer, interval speed, sound equals no one, and song equals cue new song. And also, if we come over here to object copyright, we set the camera mode to fixed there. And theoretically, we don't need to bother with it here, but we're going to do it anyways. Set the camera to fixed mode here just in case. Alright, next up, draw. Again, this is going to be copy pasted from the from our object title, basically. Get a little bit of extra there. Don't need to draw self or draw text, but we are going to set the left and top for the alignment because we're going to be drawing this caret. We need to make sure the text is aligned for when we draw the caret. So instead of draw self, we have draw 9 slice. Left, top, width, and height. So just using these variables that we set up over here. Draw the caret. Just basically this code right there. And options is this code right here. Except instead of using X and the B box left and B box right, we're using left and top as our left and right. Step event. Again, copy and paste all the code from the title. So as you can see, use up press, down press, exactly the same as this one. This one, interval timer plus plus. Then let's go. Object input start pressed. When start is pressed, we will go from this room to the stage select. I did not include the password room because I do not know what the passwords are, and password rooms are not really used very much nowadays unless you really feel like making something super retro, in which case you can come up with your own system for that. But if you really want to impress me and everybody else, go ahead and program the password room on your own. All the information for it is in there. See, we got the password balls right here, and all the rest of the sprites should be sitting around somewhere. So you can do it yourself if you really feel like it. And when you do, post a YouTube video showing what you did. Alright, so that's everything in the code here. So let's close all these. That'll send us from this room. Drag in the object here. Oops, wrong layer. There we go. Drag in your mode select object over there. Just place it wherever. It doesn't matter because we hard coded the actual coordinates into the object where it's going to display. And now, don't need room intro, don't need mode select. Now we need stage select. Stage select currently is just a black room, but with a very simple bit of code, we'll make it something interesting. So let's create a stage select object. Give me a second here to pull it up. Room objects. There it is. Okay, I made this in 2 different objects here. So we're going to start with the selector. obj_selector. Give it a sprite, miscellaneous, sprite master selector. Add an event, create, and this is going to be, again, almost exactly identical code. We set our camera position, give it an X and a Y for where it should be, an interval speed, interval timer, sound, selection equal to 4. This value would be the same as options. Selected is equal to false, countdown, and song. So we got our stage select music here. Okay, that's one of the... yeah. Never mind. I thought something, then I turned out I wasn't right. Let's see. So we're going to need a step event for this. It's going to be, again, kind of similar to our other ones, except instead of just doing up and down, we have up, down, left, and right now. So when we press up, we change our Y position by 64 and set our interval timer to 0. Play the caret sound again, same as we were doing over in the other objects. And when we press down, increase our Y position by 64. When we press left, we change our X position by 64. When we press right, we change our X position by 64 again, by positive 64. Okay, so what are we doing there? We are moving our selector on a grid, and we want to make sure our selector stays on that grid, so we need to clamp its X and Y position by these values here. So 43, 171, 27, 155. Those will be the left and right most X and Y positions for showing where the master should be. And they're also important because we go var underscore x is equal to x div 64. And what this does is it gets our position and gives us the div value. So when we're at 43, x will be dived by 64 and will return 0 because it's less than 64. And y div 64 would give us, again, 0. Our selection is equal to our y value times 3 plus our x value. So y is our rows, so you times it by 3 for each row, and x is just our our increment value there. So we'd have 0, 1, and 2 as we go to the right, and y will give us 0, 1, 2 again as we go down. And this will give us a 3 by 3 grid. And selection, object input dot start pressed. If selection does not equal 4, the reason why we don't have 4 is because 4 is the middle square, which you can only enter into once you've defeated all the other masters. So you don't want to choose that, but this wouldn't be how you do it in the if there was a full game, because you would have to be able to choose 4 sometimes when you've actually beaten all the masters. So you'd have to put in an if exception for that. Anyways, you put selection equal to true, selected equal to true, and play the teleporting sound when we press start. And what else do we do? If we are selected, then countdown minus minus, and this is a couple second countdown before we swap over to the next room. And forgot to zoom back in. Countdown is sec times 2, so 2 seconds. Then if the audio is not playing sound teleporting, so once the teleporting sound stops, then global.selected master is equal to selection, audio stop all, and room go to room master display. Room master display is this room where the master displays itself. And we'll deal with that in a little bit. Well, we'll deal with that next episode. So now that all this stuff here is done, we still have to draw our selector object. So let's throw in a draw. And this one is going to be big. A lot of code into this guy. So when we are... So if we've been selected, we will draw normally, else we will draw ourselves every other frame. So because when you select a character during those 2 seconds before you swap over to the next room, for whatever reason, the selector doesn't blink anymore at that point. It just stays on. So this was our drawing our masters and all that information there. Let me pull up in the other object I have. Yeah. Actually, so previously I was using 2 objects because I thought I would do everything inside the master display object, and then I ended up doing everything inside of this selector object instead. So we can just go over here and set the background equal to the no wait. We can't do that because we actually do need a second object, because we draw the no, I think we can get away with it. Let me just see. Backgrounds, Bright Master, so putting that in there. The selector draws right here on top of that, and the masters draw into each one of these squares. Yeah, that should work just fine. So what are we doing here? So if we haven't selected something yet, then we draw the master. So we are drawing the background here. Oh, I'm already drawing the background, so I don't even need this here. I could probably just ignore this, just leave this as blank. But not that. I need you to be black. Alright, so now let's see if I can decipher all my code here properly. So if selected, if we haven't selected a master yet, then we want to draw the master's background as normally, but only index 0, because you can see this is 2 indexes, because when you select something, it flashes. So it'll start drawing at it'll start animating that point. Draw it at 0, 0. Then for var I equals 0, while I is less than sprite get number, sprite master portraits. So we have all these master sprites here. I can't scroll it. So we have Bubble Man and all these guys here. Take note, the origin is right here in the top left corner, but there's a bunch of blank space right here. Why is there blank space? Because good old Quickman, his sprite goes outside of the box for whatever reason. Instead of just drawing it like normal, like all the other ones. So we have this here so that we can have as many masters as we needed, but we're just going to have 9. I++. Var underscore x is equal to I mod 3. And underscore y is equal to I div 3. This is basically just reverse engineering the information from the selector from here. It's just reverse engineering that to find the positions that we should draw the actual sprite at. So if we're at 0, then I is 0 mod 3 should be 0. 0 div 3 should be 0, and if it was 1, it'd be 1 mod 3, so it would give you 1, and 1 div 3 would give you 0. So anyways, so that gives us the position information of where the sprite, the master's portrait, should be drawn. And if global.master defeated is equal to I true, didn't want to pull open the help. I wanted to open the macro script just to remind you that we do have the master defeated right here, and it's just a DS list that I created. I set true, true, false, 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 false. So it grabs at I 0, so we're looking to see if at 0 it is true, and in this case, yes, at 0 it is true, so we just draw a blank master portrait. We have a white box here because it will animate again when you select something. And we draw subimage 0, 48 plus underscore x times 64, 32 plus underscore y times 64. So, yeah, we're just reverse engineering that information from over here. But if the master has not been defeated, then draw from the portraits instead of from the blanks. And draw subimage I, because that would be the image of the master. And if interval speed, interval timer, draw self. Draw self, our selector object has the selector sprite. So remember to draw ourselves. Alright, so now that we've gone over what happens when we haven't selected a master, we go over what happens if we do select a master. If we do select a master, then we draw the background 0, 0, 0, etc. Then if interval for var I equals 0, we're just copying this information from here down to here, except now we use the blank master, the sprite master portrait normal, and else we draw the sprite master background at 1, and we draw the sprite portrait master as negatives. So here's they all are as negatives. And again, all the code is the same, except in this case, instead of drawing sprite blank master portrait 0, we draw the 1. And of course, remember to draw from the negatives. And again, remember to draw ourselves if it is at the correct interval. So it's not really that hard, I hope. It's just kind of wordy. Let's give it a try. See what happens. Alright, good so far. And yes, this would work much easier if I actually remembered to drag in the selector object. Yeah. Shouldn't matter where I put it. If we had the objects and stuff set up for this room, it would start playing the boss theme right here, and then we would head off to our boss room. So thank you everybody for joining me for this episode of the NES GameMaker. I think we need to remember to thank our Patreon sponsors, so let's start shooting. Thank you very much, Fragile Hearts, Crew Patreon, Damien, and Kenneth Klein for your support of the NES GameMaker. Your support helps improve this show and helps ensure future episodes will be produced. But I think I'd produce them anyways, but it just makes it more fun for me on my end that I actually get somebody that I've been able to help somebody enough that they're willing to put down some dollar money for it. And if I've helped you, just you can join with the other Patrons. You can donate $1 if you want, or you can donate $5 or $20 even. So everybody, thank you very much for joining me, and good luck with your programming.